What's going on, baseball fans? Jeremy Laracuente here for the Baseball Banter Broadcast. And on this broadcast, we are going to be bantering about the 2023 Seattle Mariners. So, of course, if you have been watching this series, we are covering the state of the franchise of these organizations throughout Major League Baseball. There's a corresponding article on LaracuenteLedger.com. Links to that article are down in the show notes below as we break down each segment of this franchise. We begin with the major acquisitions. Now, the major acquisition for the Seattle Mariners, in my opinion, this offseason was Teoscar Hernandez. To me, Teoscar is a huge presence in the middle of the Mariners order in 2023. This is going to be a bat that really helps kind of transition and solidify this Mariners roster as they battle against the juggernaut that is the Houston Astros in that division. They're also going to be dealing with teams like the Texas Rangers and the LA Angels of Anaheim. So there's going to be a necessary presence that Teoscar is going to be able to fulfill. I think this was a very good move by the Mariners to be able to bring in a guy who's going to be able to be a presence in that order, be able to be a guy that protects Julio Rodriguez. I think that this is a very good move for the Seattle Mariners. Now, as we look at the significant injuries, when it comes to the Mariners, Andres Munoz and Dylan Moore are going to be the two players that I'm paying the most attention to. I think that both players are going to be able to have a very, very good 2023 season for the Mariners, and I think both are going to be extremely important. So being able to get them healthy and ready to go for the full grind of the 162-game campaign is of the utmost importance for Seattle. I think that when you look at what these players are going to be, especially Munoz in the bullpen and Moore for his versatility and depth for this Mariners lineup, they are such critical and important pieces. So getting them back healthy is going to be of significant necessity for the Mariners. Now, as we look at the top prospect, Harry Ford, who is a catcher, is the number one guy in the Mariners organization. We have seen Harry Ford through the course of the World Baseball Classic really put on a show. I think this is going to be a very, very good player for the Mariners over the next coming couple of seasons. I think that when you look at what he's going to be able to do, yes, this is still a young player that is still developing, still learning his craft, but he's a very good hitter. And this is going to be a player that, in my opinion, is a very balanced player. There's going to be an opportunity for him to really prove what he has at the catching position. The Mariners are said to believe that he will remain at that position, although there is some speculation as to that whether or not he could be moved to a different position, maybe preserve him long term. But I think that for Seattle, over the next coming couple of seasons, they're really going to see what they have in this player and really enjoy the results of what they're witnessing. Now, when it comes to the bold prediction, I'm predicting Julio Rodriguez will go 40-40. 40 home runs and 40 steals for this absolutely dynamic player. I think that when you look at what J-Rod can be for the Mariners, obviously this is a catalyst. This is the franchise cornerstone. This is the player that you're building your organization around. But long term, I think that for this 2023 season, we're really going to see him explode with his talent. I think there's an opportunity that he can truly go off on a very tremendous MVP caliber type season by hitting 40 home runs and stealing 40 bases. Now, as we look at the divisional rankings prediction on our article on LaracuenteLedger.com and our video here on the Baseball Banter Broadcast, we said the Mariners are finishing in second place, and that's simply because the Astros are such a juggernaut of a team. I think that Seattle has done a lot over the last several years to really change the organization, to change the look of this franchise. The pitching staff, the lineup, all of it to me is completely revamped, and this is a serious contender for a postseason spot. We saw them end the longest active postseason drought in the 4 North American major sports leagues last season in 2022. I think 2023 is going to be a follow-up of sorts for that. Now, there's still more room for improvement. There's still more work to be done to be able to bridge that gap, to close that gap with the Houston Astros, but I think that the Mariners are going to do a very good job of that in 2023. Now, as we grade out the pitching staff, it is an A- overall. This has been a very active organization in terms of making trades. And what we've seen from this organization is that they've done a lot to really solidify this pitching staff. The acquisition of Luis Castillo last trading season was absolutely critical and phenomenal for the Mariners. I think that this year we see him really go off and have a monstrous campaign for the Mariners. I also believe that the other players within the rotation and in that bullpen are really going to have big years as well. I think that Seattle really is going to start closing that gap a bit with the Astros, and really starts with the starting pitching as well as the bullpen help. So the pitching staff overall, an A- grade. When it comes to grading out the offense, I think that it is a B+. This offense to me is really obviously led by, catalyst by J-Rod, Julio Rodriguez. I think the acquisition of Teoscar Hernandez is a big middle of the order addition. You also have guys like Eugenio Suarez, who are really going to be another powerful presence in that lineup. I think that for Seattle, there is still a little bit room for improvement. You're not sure what you're going to get from your former top prospect, a guy named Jared Kelenic. You're also going to see what you have throughout the rest of this organization. I think there is an opportunity for the Mariners to really start to push towards the top of this division, towards the top of the postseason wild card picture. When you look at what the Mariners are going to be in 2023, the offense is going to be a big factor, and it's going to start with Julio Rodriguez. Now, when it comes to grading out the offseason, it is a B- grade. I think that the Mariners have done a lot over the last several years, and if this was a 4-year grade, it would probably be a lot higher. We know that Jerry Dipoto is very, very active on the trade scene and has done so for a very long time. This Mariners organization is very, very different from when Dipoto first took over. That being said, this offseason, they did add to this team to be able to improve it. I think that there are still room for improvement with the squad, but very much a good offseason. Now, when it comes to grading out the franchise, it is a B+ overall. Again, Jerry Dipoto has done a lot over the last several years to really change up this organization, to really start to build around the foundational piece, the catalyst that is Julio Rodriguez. I think that for Seattle, this is going to be a guy that you really start to put in such a position of prominence. I also think that you really are going to see Seattle start to build that core that's around him. This, to me, is going to be an organization that absolutely is a postseason contender in 2023. Now, are they going to be able to surpass the Astros in that division? While at this moment in time, I don't believe that it is likely, there is an opportunity for Seattle to really get close to that team that has been their biggest adversary over the last couple of seasons in the Houston Astros. For me, Seattle's 2023 campaign is really going to mark the beginning of what could be a very potent organization over the next couple of seasons. But I want to hear from you. Let me know, Mariners fans, how are you feeling about your team's chances in 2023? What are your expectations for Julio Rodriguez and the rest of the squad? Let me know that down in the comments, or find me over on Twitter at banter_baseball, where we can keep the conversation rolling. Now, if you want to follow us more, you can follow our other social media platforms on Instagram and TikTok at Baseball Banter Broadcast. You can head over to LaracuenteLedger.com to read over the corresponding article on this video, as well as many other on the world of Major League Baseball, as well as some other topics altogether. If you want to show more support for us beyond that, head over to baseballbanterbroadcast.com. It is our merchandise shop where we have a ton of promo codes running on the banner to be able to save on your merch from the Baseball Banter Broadcast. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, I thank you for tuning in. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and the bell for post notifications, as it does a huge service as we continue to try to grow this baseball community. If you're listening to us here on your favorite podcast listening platform, I want to thank you. Leave a 5-star rating and review, as again, it helps us to try to grow and build this community for the long term. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Keep it locked in, as on the next broadcast, we are going to banter about baseball. Peace.